Today we will review some great both vintage and new tank board games, so you would be ready to surprise your family and friends during this wonderful Christmas time. And before we start, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to be always updated about military gaming and tank games in particular. So let's go! And I would like to start with two classic vintage games. One of them is Tank Command, released in 1975, tabletop game with large plastic base. The game is played in 2 rounds, but tanks destroyed in the first round are not replaced for a second round. The winner is the player with the most tanks on the battlefield after 2 rounds. The next game is Tank Battle, released as well in 1975. Tank Battle is classic fun for 2 players aged 8 or older, and it is a quick game as well. Average game time is as short as 30 minutes, so cool, quick game. This one is a vintage game. The objective of this game is to destroy your opponent's 6 tanks before he does the same to your tanks. In addition to your tanks, you deploy an ammo dump, a fuel dump, your headquarters, 5 anti-tank guns and 2 land mines. Well, quite a simple, quick and lovely board game to start with. Next one is Mission Command Land, released in 2003, designated for 2 players aged 10 or older with average game time 1 hour. In this game you play as a company commander of an elite ground squadron on a special maneuvers. Your mission is to destroy your opponent's tanks before the opponent does the same. You should strategically position your artillery and installations to strengthen your forces, plan your tank and helicopter moves to outmaneuver your opponent and eliminate opponent's tanks before yours are destroyed. Game set contains game board, 32 plastic playing pieces, 2 plotting grids, 62 cardboard defense chips, 2 combat reference cards, 6 dice, a label sheet, 6 tank markers, 4 missile markers, 10 artillery markers and instructions. So yes, this game is not old one and you can get it on Amazon. Let's move forward and take a look on Panzer General Russian Assault and Panzer General Allied Assault. Both were released in 2010 by Petroglyph Games. Let's start with Panzer General Russian Assault. It is quick playing World War II tactical combat board game. Average playing time is 1 hour. You can play this game either solo or against another player, age 10 plus. A game uses a unique blend of 80 plastic miniatures depicting tanks, infantry and artillery, over 100 action cards, units and abilities, and of course, board itself. The game provides 12 solo and player versus player scenarios, with combat scenarios between the German and Russian forces in such iconic battles as Stalingrad, legendary Kursk, Moscow, Leningrad and many others. Panzer General Russian Assault is a turn-based game where each turn is divided into 3 phases: drawing cards, operations and combat. To win the game, either player must meet the conditions laid out in a scenario rules. Let's move on to Panzer General Allied Assault, which is very similar to the previous game, only this time game takes place during the last phase of World War II from 1944 to 1945. It features actual battles as a D-Day landing, Utah Beach, disasters, Operation Market Garden and infamous Battle of Bulge, Mass and many others. Game provides over 12 solo and player versus player scenarios. Average playing time is 1 hour and it is designed for age 10 plus. And both games you can get on Amazon as well. So let's move on. Next, Panzer Force, vintage game from Lustern, published in 1979, designed for 2 players aged 12 or above. It is realistic tactical tank-on-tank combat featuring problems faced by tank commanders during World War II, where 2 tigers faces off against 4 shamans, and it is much more than just a game. The 2 different tanks that will collide in battles will respond and perform as they actually did. You as a tank commander will make decisions that will lead you either to the victory or defeat as real deadly adventure. This is a bit longer game as others board games, and it will take 2 hours to play on average. Next one I would suggest Duel of Giants, Eastern Front, released in 2010. It is a brilliant board game by Siemens Games. Quick to play, in average 30 to 40 minutes, and it is designed for up to 4 players. So yes, it can be truly a family game. Game has a plastic miniature tanks, Stuka dive bombers, cards, dice and more. Again, Russians versus Germans. Duel of Giants allows you to recreate the tank battles on the Eastern Front in 1943. As a German player, you must plan your moves carefully to anticipate the Soviet advance. The Soviet player can take chances with his many tanks to overwhelm the limited German defenses. Good planning, preparation and skill will be required to success. Hooray! And both games again you can buy on Amazon's links under this video, so if you are interested, go there and check them out. Okay, next one is Axis and Allies, released in 1981, originally published by Nova Games. But don't be afraid, the game has numerous second editions like Axis and Allies Europe 1940, Axis and Allies Pacific 1940, Axis and Allies 1941, Axis and Allies 1942, and even Axis and Allies D-Day. All of them take you to different World War II war theaters, and you can get them all on Amazon. And if you are interested, then go ahead and follow the links in the description. Let's take a closer look at the actual game itself. Axis and Allies is a lovely World War II strategy board game that allows you to dive into the World War II atmosphere on a global scale with the plastic soldiers, tanks, planes and even ships. Game is designated for up to 5 players and 2 teams aged 12 or older and can be resolved in 3 hours. Teams are divided on the axis with the German and Japan, and Allies, which has the USA, the United Kingdom and the USSR. Game provides a full map of the world broken up in various fields. Game has a large game board and contains plastic miniatures that represent various military units during World War II. At their disposal, players have an infantry, armor, fighters, bombers, battleships, aircraft carriers, submarines, troop transports, anti-aircraft guns, factories. There is a lot of things in there. All of those units perform differently and many have special abilities. Players have to work together with their teammates in order to coordinate offensives and decide the best ways to utilize their production points. Well, this game slightly, if not strongly, reminds me of a famous PC game called Hearts of Iron, which is one of my favorite strategy video games developed by Paradox Development Studio in 2002. Okay, but let's return to the board games. Next comes Eastern Front Tank Leader, released in 1986, and West Front Tank Leader, released in 1987. Both are tactical platoon or company level games where formations are activated by playing command cards. The emphasis is on command, control and communication with the use of command cards that represent formations which are used to determine order of movement, combat, rallying, and other actions. The game includes factors such as unit experience, command, and morale. The terrain on the map is variable from woods to cities and is defined in each scenario. Both games are really cool and lovely. Next one is World War II Barbarossa, 1941, published by Zvezda, which is the largest Russian manufacturer of model kits, board games and toys in 2010. This game has a unique simultaneous play mechanics that keeps the action intense. The rules are easy to learn and game is designed for players at least 10 years old. The great feature is that game board and terrain tiles allow you to create a new battlefields every time you play. Highly detailed units and vehicles that match the historic prototypes brings the battle to the life. Exciting scenarios complete with historical information and challenging tactical missions, all is the game is designed for 2 players with average match time around 1 hour. Next one is Tide of Iron and Tide of Iron Next Wave. Tide of Iron was released in 2007 by Fantasy Flight Games. Great board game that features tactical combat between Allies and Germany on the Western Front during 1942 and 1945. Designed for up to 4 players and takes approximately 2 hours to finish. The Tide of Iron is a scenario-based game with available forces, objectives, map and victory conditions being set by each given scenario separately. It features loads of plastic figurines, including soldiers, equipment, heavy weaponry and combat vehicles, cards, dice, cardboard markers and the modular game boards with customizable terrain. It contains 12 double-sided map tiles plus a dozen terrain hexes allowing for limitless potential combinations, and each scenario can be enhanced by special rules, objectives, allocations and other variations. Basically, the only limiting factor is your imagination. Tide of Iron Next Wave is the second edition of the Tide of Iron. It was released in 2014. Tide of Iron Next Wave and Tide of Iron are essentially the same game. Overall, the Tide of Iron Next Wave is a much more informative and organized. The rules are improved with corrected errors, which make it better than the rules from the 2007 edition. Few of the scenarios have been adjusted for a better gameplay. It is a great game to have and it is still available. You can get it on Amazon, so check links underneath the video. Small Army Tank Wars comes next. It's released in 2020. It is a quite fresh game. This game is a combination of construction of historic vehicles from construction blocks with a game simulation of the armored battle of the World War II. In the set you will find blocks which when assembled will create military vehicles which are faithful replicas of authentic machines. 2 dice to play, the double board for the game, cards and chips. Game has easy to read and intuitive instructions based on drawings and icons. Thanks to Small Arm Tank Wars, you will see that good game can also be a history lesson coming to life. At the same time, it is an excellent lesson in strategic thinking for adults and children. You can easily play it with your family and friends. The game is designed for 2 players and can be resolved in 30 minutes. As the next one, I would like to suggest interesting bunch. Tank on Tank East Front, released in 2015, with its expansion Tank on Tank East Front Red Storm in the Valley, released in 2016, and then another game, Tank on Tank West Front, released in 2015, with expansion Tank on Tank West Front Defenders of the Rhine, released 1 year later in 2016. Let's take a look at what it's all about. These are quick and easy games to play in 30 to 40 minutes on your own or with an opponent. Tank on Tank East Front allows you to command Panthers against T-34s, Hungarian Turan against KV-85s, and armored infantry against anti-tank gun positions. Capture enemy supply depots, protect valuable convoys, and lead all-out assaults. New in Tank on Tank East Front are the rules for improved positions, armored infantry airstrikes, and massed activation of Soviet units. So you can experience the tactical dynamics of the World War II tank battles. Tank on Tank East Front Red Storm in the Valley is a new expansion for a previous one. In this expansion, players can immerse themselves into catastrophic armored clashes between Germany and Soviet Union. This expansion includes 2 maps and many customizable scenario rules. Game includes 10 scenarios where Soviets confront the Germans in huge armed battles in valleys, depressions, and over railroad tracks in order to achieve victory. So you can enjoy hours of gameplay with this extension. It's fun and it's tactical. Tank on Tank Western Front actually is the second edition of this game. Same as previous variation of this game, it can be learned quickly and played in less than an hour. Tank on Tank Western Front depicts deadly tactical ground combat during the last years of the World War II. There are some improvements in comparison to previous editions. So Tank on Tank Western Front have rules for improved positioning, armored infantry, airstrikes, and support trucks, so that you can experience the tactical game flavor of World War II tank battles like never before. Tank on Tank Western Front includes Shamans, Wolverines, Priests, King Tigers, Panthers, Mark IVs, and as well as the infantry and anti-tank guns and 1-inch counters. If you've been looking for a simple game to test your leadership abilities or something to introduce a young commander to the wargaming, Tank on Tank West Front is a perfect game for that. And finally, Tank on Tank West Front Defenders of the Rhine is a new expansion for previous game. In this expansion, Tank on Tank fans can jump into armored clashes between United States and Germany. This expansion includes 2 maps and many customizable scenario rules to add to your gaming experience. Within 10 scenarios, US tanks confront German panzers in devastating battles in villages and over rivers to achieve victory. Well, you will enjoy hours of gaming with this expansion. It's fun, tactical, and it's easy. As a next one, I would like to offer World of Tanks miniature game. Released in 2020, World of Tanks miniature game is an easy to learn, quick to play game where you take command of unit of the tanks, seeking to destroy your opponents and secure victory. This game takes a famous World of Tanks online game to the tabletop. The starter set contains everything you need to start playing, including 4 highly detailed assembled plastic tanks, 6 custom dice, tank cards, terrain and tokens, crew and equipment upgrade cards, and game deck. It is not expensive and very affordable game, and if you are interested, there are Amazon links in description. As the next game, I would like to suggest Memoy 44, released in 2004. A beautiful game immersing us into battles of the D-Day between the Allies and the Axis. Battles include such iconic events as the Omaha Beach, Pegasus Bridge, Operation Cobra and Ardennes. In the game can participate as many as 8 players, and it will take you around 1 hour to play the match. Memoir 44 includes over 15 different battle scenarios and features a double-sided hex game board for both beach landings and countryside combat. Each scenario mimics the historical terrain, troop placements and objectives of each army. Players deploy troops through combat and tactical cards, playing the unit skills of this unit: infantry, paratroopers, tanks, artillery, and even resistance fighters. In addition to the large double-sided game board, Memoir 44 includes 144 perfectly detailed army miniatures, including historically accurate infantry, tanks and artillery, 36 obstacle pieces, 60 illustrated combat cards, 44 special terrain tiles, and 8 custom dice. And with Memoir 44 overload scenarios, players can use multiple boards and up to 8 players to conduct large-scale operations, experiencing challenges of a troop coordination and military chain of command on large-scale battlefield. The Memoir 44 series consists of the base game and number of expansions, so it is very nice game and it is available on Amazon. As the next comes Flames of War, Fury and Flames of War Hit the Beach, both released in 2019. This game is your introduction to the exciting world of Flames of War, the world's most popular World War II miniature game. Lead your tanks in furious combat, use speed and terrain to hit the enemy in their weaker flanks, or trust your thick frontal armor and big gun to blow them away. Fury World War II tank combat includes Stug tank, Tiger, M-Force, Sherman tanks, M10 tank, 2 plastic tank commanders, 2 terrain cards, 6 dice and 7 unit cards. Definitely it is great game to try out. Next one is Tank Chess and Tank Chess Fun Set Expansion. Tank Chess is released in 2016. Fun Set Expansion is released in 2018. These are brilliant games for up to 4 players, so to have fun. It can be resolved as little as in 15 minutes or can last up to 2 hours. So a lot of possible scenarios can develop during this game. Each player has figures like light tanks, medium ones, heavies and command tank. In each turn, the player moves one figure. Figures move from field to field. The fastest are light tanks and the slowest are heavy tanks. The goal of the game is to destroy an enemy command tank or to escape with your own command tank. Fun Set Expansion includes many different types of tanks and new types of obstacles. All the basic rules and strategies from the core game remains the same, but with expansion there are a lot of new details and possibilities to think about. The expansion includes many different terrain configurations, and on top of that, players can create and publish their own terrain schemes and therefore contribute to the overall quality and popularity of the game. As the last one, I would like to suggest MBT Second Edition, released in 2016. It is a great tactical tank board game that has extensions. MBT is a complete game system modeling the USA 7th Army and the GSFG and the CGF Soviet Mechanized Forces of 1987. Game features M1 Abrams, M60A3 Bradleys and M113A2 mechanized units set to take on their Soviet counterparts with their T-80s, T-72s, T-64s, upgraded models of T-62s and T-55s and PMP-1, 2 and 3. Well, it's great modern time tabletop tank board game. Mechanized infantry and their related weapons are in abundance, including M47 Dragon, M62 LAV, 87 Saxon, 84 Spigot, and multiple RPG variations. The scale is right down in the weeds with individual vehicles, infantry squads, half squads, and each hex is just 100 meters across. Can you imagine that? That is a brilliant game. The rules cover the total realm of modern mechanized combat with anti-tank guided missiles, including TOW and deadly Soviet gun-launched missiles like AT-11, Sniper, and AT-8. Armor with ERA, advanced night fighting with thermal images and image intensifiers, abundance of artillery with ICM and laser-guided shells, helicopters including Apache and M124P, attack aircrafts including the A-10A Warhawk and Su-25, the missiles and gun-armed anti-aircraft units to counter the deadly air threats. It is all included in this game package. The game is just epic, and the most brilliant thing about that is you can get this game right now on Amazon. And that's it for today. Do not forget to subscribe and please let me know which of those games you liked most, which is your favorite one, or maybe you can suggest any other board games that include tanks and which is not even mentioned here. So go ahead and leave your comment. And if you like this video, give it thumbs up. If you don't, tell me how to improve. Thank you for watching and following Tank Zone. Have a wonderful day and see you in next episode.